Hello everybody, and welcome back to OMB Reviews. I am the critic who is a cynic. Hope we're doing well, and today I'll be doing a review of Fast 9, The Fast Saga, or F9, The Fast Saga, which is currently, as of today, available on Blu-ray, 4K, DVD, etc. I want to first off say thank you to Universal for sending out this copy for me to review. However, I do also want to say that I am not being paid for this review. My review has not been checked by anyone else, and I am therefore free to say all the things that I'm going to say about this movie. And so I just wanted to get that out of the way firsthand. But before going any further, please make sure you smash that like button, light up that fire button if you're watching over on Odyssey. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel with that bell notification on. That way you know every time a new video or live stream goes live on the channel. So Fast 9, it's kind of crazy to think that there are now 9 films, or technically 10 if you count Hobbs and Shaw, in the entire Fast and Furious universe. I remember discovering this probably about 10 years ago is when I first saw that first Fast and Furious film, because I had some friends who were pretty big fans of it, and I never quite understood it. I always saw it coming out into theaters, and I just never really had a desire to go see any of them because it always kind of looked a little bit silly to me, and I was never a big fan of cars, and so it really didn't have much for me at the very least to be excited about. So I finally saw the first Fast and Furious film, and I thought, hey, this is pretty silly fun. You know, it really is just a fun, silly universe with just, again, ridiculous plots, and as the films have gone on, they've kind of developed a life of their own. But even those early films, as flawed as they are, especially from an objective sense, they are still, I think, a lot of fun for a lot of people. And so I remember watching all of the films and finding myself really drawn to films like Tokyo Drift, for instance, kind of like the weird film in the franchise where you kind of shifted away from almost every single main character of the established universe and instead focus on these brand new characters and then actually introduce a character that became a fan favorite in the character of Han, and then after establishing that, basically decided to say, okay, we're just going to say Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift takes place in the future, and that way we can bring Han into this discussion, bring Han into this world, and also therefore be able to still have him around since we killed him off in Tokyo Drift. And so I've been, again, a fan of this franchise for a pretty long time. Then we got to Fast 7, and obviously that was around the time that Paul Walker passed away before Fast and Furious 7 was completely finished filming. And so they had to bring in his brother to film a couple of the shots, or at least to stand in on a couple of the shots as well. And, they did it mostly seamlessly, I guess, because they did some CGI stuff too to try and make sure that he fit into the film. And I really think that especially hurt the film itself, because to me, Fast and Furious 7 was the first movie in the franchise that I just hated, that I just was just so bored by, and just thought it was so over the top, way over the top, more than it had been in previous films, to the point of it really just kind of just being too ridiculous, and to the point of just not being able to find much enjoyment in it. And so ever since Fast and Furious 7, I have kind of just, lost interest in this franchise. I eventually watched Fast 8, hoping that they would kind of change where they would go with it. Fast 8 ended up being actually worse than Fast and Furious 7. And so when Fast 9 was announced, I was just like, okay, really at this point, I have no desire to see it. And sure enough, when it came out this year, I decided just to not go see it, decided not to support the film because it just didn't look like anything special. It didn't look like it was going to be, kind of going back to its roots, as it were. But what I can say gladly is that the film is definitely better than Fast and Furious 7, Fast and Furious 8. However, it is still definitely within the line of the modern day Fast and Furious kind of mindset, where it is, again, way too over the top for its purpose. But I think that also at the same time, it is able to kind of ground itself just a little bit. And that's saying a lot for a film that actually does feature a travel to space at one point in the movie. And again, I just think it's kind of interesting that they're able to do that, but then also be a bit more grounded than the other films, at least the last couple films in the actual franchise itself. So in the actual Blu-ray release, though, what's something that I do appreciate from studios like Universal is when they actually have different cuts of the film available right off the bat. So this actually has a director's cut directly on the Blu-ray. So you actually get 2 versions of the film. You get the theatrical cut, and then you get the 2.5-hour director's cut. So the version I watched was actually the 2.5-hour director's cut, and I believe that the only stuff that's really added is a lot of more flashbacks, a lot more time spent on the flashbacks of the younger Dom, the younger Jacob, played by John Cena, the brother of the character of Dom. And I thought that it definitely, I think, added a little bit more depth to the story overall. It's almost like they tried to be a little bit more serious in that development as well, and I think it actually played pretty well for the most part in those flashbacks. So I thought that was probably some of the better parts of the movie, though it is always funny to see a younger actor playing a younger Vin Diesel, trying to do the Vin Diesel voice. And it's just, again, really funny to see that play out in the way that it does. But again, I do have to give kudos to Universal for at the very least having both cuts of the film available right when it gets released and not have to make fans wait years and years and years and years and years to get a full uncut version of the movie like we've seen in other franchises. So just a little bit about the Blu-ray release itself, since this is also a Blu-ray review. It includes a gag reel, Fast 9 all in, practically fast, so a bunch of special features there. Shifting priorities, Justice for Han, A Day on the Set with Justin Lin, John Cena, Supercar Superfan, feature commentary with producer, co-writer, director Justin Lin. So all of that stuff is available. And as I said, you get 2 cuts of the film there as well. But in the end, I think that as far as the actual movie goes and as far as the actual review of the film, I would say that this film still suffers from what the other films have kind of gone with, where basically, instead of it being just fun, you would be able to enjoy the characters on screen and enjoying their chemistry. What you're getting at this point is really just a lot of the same stuff. You're just getting a lot of just the same repetitive jokes, the same repetitive tropes over and over and over again, and it's not really innovating in any way. The only way that you can even argue it's innovating is by the fact that it is just trying to get crazy and crazy and crazier, doing as much crazy stuff as it possibly can. What I will say, though, is that typically in the other films, by going crazier, they've had to utilize a lot more CGI. And the CGI, I think, has been very lackluster, has not been very good. Despite the fact that these films cost like $200 million almost every single time, or they're at least very close to that amount, it's amazing how the CGI has always looked really rough, has never really been able to kind of live up to the price tag that they're paying. What I can say about Fast 9, though, and probably one of the reasons why I like Fast 9 a little bit more than Fast 8 and Fast 7, is that there are, I think, a lot more, or at least there seem to be more practical stunts and practical effects. There's a couple of chase scenes, for instance, where they're using actual cars, and I thought it was really awesome just to see that. There are definitely a lot of moments, way too many, where they do have, again, this use of way too much CGI to try and showcase some of the action. And just, I think, when you start to use so much CGI, it ends up just looking totally just digital, artificial, and it just doesn't look real. It doesn't look authentic. And one of the things that was really cool about the Fast Saga is that you were able to feature cars. You were able to feature real cars. You were able to feature real stunt drivers and be able to really show and test the limits of what these stunt persons, stunt men and stunt women could actually do in the car. And it's, again, kind of gotten lost when you decide to really just completely do away with that and instead bring in a lot of CGI elements instead. So it was really nice just to see them kind of move back a little bit to being able to embrace, the practical effects instead of just, using CGI all the time. They still use the CGI in the film, and it's definitely obvious, and it's just, again, just as cringeworthy as it is in all the other films, but hey, at least it is there overall. So again, I think that this film is definitely on the higher end of the newer versions of the Fast and Furious saga. However, I would still say this is definitely one of my least favorites. I would say that out of the last 3, so, Fast 7, Fast 8, I would probably put this at the top, Fast 7, and then Fast 8 at the bottom. Again, that's just kind of how I would, fine with that. And it's still to this day, I love the original Fast and Furious. I thought Tokyo Drift was also a lot of fun. And it was actually more fun than it probably should have been, especially with the character and the introduction of the character of Han. And I think that also, in getting into some spoilers here, I guess you could say, even though it's not really a spoiler since he's on the poster and in the promotional materials. So again, kind of just weird that they've decided to play it this way. But the character of Han has really created so much problem, I think, for the continuity of this universe. And not to say that anyone should be focused on continuity when you're dealing with a franchise like Fast and Furious 9, but hey, it's still a movie. It's still a movie franchise. These are things that should still be important to basic storytelling. The fact that they have him killed and Tokyo Drift, and then bring him back by going back in time in the franchise. So every film that comes out after Tokyo Drift, up until like 6 or 7, is taking place in the past, where Tokyo Drift then becomes the future. And then we obviously got to that point where we caught up with Tokyo Drift in this franchise. Now, all of a sudden, they've decided that, oh, guess what? We're just going to bring Han back. We're just going to do this weird, crazy explanation of how he somehow survived. And now he's back because I guess the fans still really like him and we want to bring him back. And I don't know. Again, it's nice to see Han because I think the character is fun. And I like the actor that plays him, but it's gotten to the point now where it's just like, okay, so no one's ever really dead in this universe. And again, that's just kind of ridiculous. There's no stakes, really, then at this point, if that is something that is not there. I mean, at the end, it would not surprise me at all if in Fast 10 or in Fast 11, you have characters, for instance, the character played by Gal Gadot, who fell out of the plane on the longest runway to ever exist in history, is somehow brought back because, hey, she falls literally into the darkness of the night. And so you could literally just bring her back and have some crazy convoluted story about how she survived that. And again, that just creates no real stakes for this movie. And I know that some people might ask, why do you care so much? It's such a Fast and Furious film. Just enjoy it. And that's my issue. Is that the only way that you can really defend this movie is say, consume, consume, consume. Don't ask questions. Don't expect better from your entertainment. Don't expect better from your big, large action, big budget entertainment. And I think that that's where we've fallen. We've become so numb to this stuff that we're not really expecting or asking for anything new, anything innovative. And when Fast and Furious continues to make money, again, this is being one of the highest grossing films of this year during the pandemic, making $716 million overseas, or rather $716 million completely, 200 plus million of that coming from China alone, it starts to make you realize, okay, if people are going to continue to give money to this franchise, maybe they should start to try and do a little bit more. Not to mention, and I will always mention this, again, going into China, 25% of that is actually going to the studio, meaning the rest of it goes to the communist regime in China. So Fast and Furious 9, thank you very much for funding communism in China, and therefore also helping to fund places like the Uyghur concentration camps and other human rights violations in that country. As I've always said in every single video, I will always call that nonsense out, even for films that I like or don't like. And this is a situation where it's a film where it's better than the films we've had recently. However, I definitely think that this is something that is kind of showing the age of this franchise, and hopefully they're able to innovate. However, as long as people continue to mindlessly watch this movie or watch these movies and not ask and expect something a little bit more, I guess they're just never going to change, and it will continue to be a nice paycheck movie for all of the actors involved, because let's just be honest here, most of these actors are only involved still because it is, again, a nice guaranteed paycheck. And obviously, there are still people who are fans of the franchise. I will not take that away from them. But in the end, this is a C+ movie for me. Again, it's definitely not as bad as the last couple of films. Definitely not as bad as Hobbs and Shaw. But hey, it's also not that great either, and it still has a long way to go to kind of, I think, recapture some of the glory of the original Fast and Furious films. But anyway, what are your thoughts about Fast 9? Again, it is available now on Blu-ray, and so obviously, this was sent to me, so that's the only reason why I was actually even able to watch it. So again, I do thank Universal for sending this out for me to be able to talk about and to review and to give my, unfiltered and honest thoughts about it. But again, are you planning on picking this film up on Blu-ray? Again, I think that it is a film that some people might like. I know that Alex McCarthy, who is a longtime supporter on the channel, loves the Fast and Furious films, and including this one. So I'm sure that he'll probably want to pick this film up at some point. But yeah, let me know your thoughts about this and anything else I mentioned in the comment section below. If this video, smash that like button, light up that fire button if you're watching on Odyssey. You're all amazing, beautiful people. Hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. And as always, God bless. And now for a huge shout out to all of my September Locals, Patreon, and Subscribestar members. First with my Locals members, Cats App, D Sharp, It's a Modern Major General Story, Laura Bifford the Hobbit, and Robert Barnes. I want to give a shout out to, especially to Laura, who is now a double supporter on Locals and on Patreon, so thank you for that. And to all of my Locals members. A shout out also to my Patreon members, Andrew Hoyle, animation commentator Brandon, Brian P., Christopher Bowman, Don Bruno de la Mancha, Father Christopher Miller, Hail to you, Father, Father Damian Cook, Garrett Searles, Hannibal Grimm, Harold Francis, Inflamed Wood, Jacob Juice, Jeffrey Toon, Joe Horn, Jonathan Carney, Gomer Kyle 79, Laura the Modern Major General Story once again, Mike Jackson, Mad Mitch Dunaway, Mondo Spieler, Mr. Peabody, On to June, Orange Hat Reviews, Out of Step with Reality, Priscilla Hall, Rosetta Ullen, Teresa Martin, Theodore Bendon, Tina Bojan, and Tina B., the Empress of the Universe. And a shout out also to my Subscribestar members, The R, Fast Reaction, Nosferatu Gatsu, John B., Perpetual Punster, Mr. Roy, Glinzer, J. Alex McCarthy Jr., Dean Heiss / the new number 2, J-Rod the Beer Guru, and ZK Man. Thank you all very much for supporting the channel. And I want to give a huge shout out to new members, one-time supporters over on Locals, Kara Tharp, K Tharp 56, and Brett D 90. Thank you again for being a one-time supporter over on Locals, and also to my newest Patreon member, Stan Gunovic. And hopefully I pronounced that correctly, but thank you for being my newest members. It really does mean a lot. And if you want to have your name shouted out at the end of every single video or live stream on the main channel, please check out the links in the description below, specifically that top link, which will bring you to all of the links to my various social media pages and also places of support as well. And remember that if you join at the Army of Asgard level, you also get access to giveaways of 4K titles. Right now, I have a live giveaway of Snatch on 4K Steelbook. I've also got ones for Dread, Wrath of Man Blu-ray. I've also got A Quiet Place Part 2 on 4K. I've got Top Gun on 4K, Sicario on 4K, tons of films and more to come, especially as more films are getting released for those giveaways. At the Keeper of the Bifrost level, you get all of that, plus you get access to an exclusive podcast that I do with John the Flick Pick Flickinger. Not only do you get to listen to the podcast, you also get to ask questions that we answer as much as we can and as fully as we can in a much more, I guess you could say, uncensored way, but again, a much more free-flowing way for our members over there at the Keeper of the Bifrost level and above. And if you join the Chosen of Valhalla level, you get access to all of those things. Plus, in your first month, you get a free t-shirt, your choice, and I send it to you no matter where you are in the world. And also, you get to once a month be featured on the channel in the Chosen of Valhalla live stream, where we talk about movie, news, and pretty much anything that you want to talk about. So if that all sounds like fun to you, check out those links below. You're all amazing and beautiful people. Hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. And as always, God bless.